spring in the Arctic, nature is waking up as the sea ice melts, warmed by 24 hours of sunlight. This year saw a record loss of sea ice in April across the Arctic, and this is where that ice comes to die. But the story of ice loss is more than just warming air.
I would lean towards trying to keep going a little further in.
Okay.
We're in the Fram Strait, far north in the Arctic Circle.
So we're choosing this area because this is an area where we have this warm water meeting the ice edge.
Biological oceanographer Matthias Kape is one of a small group of scientists headed by polar physicist Till Wagner. The warm water they're talking about is the fast-moving Gulf Stream originating in the Gulf of Mexico.
So it's actually this warm water is at the surface as it comes up, and then it drops under the ice as it goes into the Arctic Ocean. And that layer that's under the ice, that has been coming up closer to the surface and melting the ice from underneath.
We know the oceans are taking the brunt of global warming we have caused, but the team wants to understand how the way the ice and water are interacting affects our changing world.
What we're trying to do is find ice that's representative of the area.
And ice that doesn't risk breaking apart under our feet. With a polar bear guard on watch, the team works on the ice floes day after day.
There are so many challenges when it comes to really understanding our planet's changing climate. It's a bit like trying to put together a puzzle whose pieces are constantly changing faster than the science and the studies can keep up with.
The team drills through the ice to measure thickness.
So we're starting to get a fairly good idea, and it has definitely thinned in this area as well. It's basically thinned everywhere.
Extracting ice cores that hold frozen clues.
Oh wow, look at that. Beautiful. Got about 1 meter of ice core right here. And inside this piece of ice, actually, it's a little microscopic forest.
Greenpeace ship, the Arctic Sunrise, is converted into a floating lab.
All right, I can grab the first one.
Melted ice core samples come to life under the microscope, a kaleidoscope of algae and phytoplankton.
So these sea ice algae and phytoplankton in general are tremendously important for carbon drawdown. They photosynthesize, takes in carbon dioxide.
Phytoplankton don't just store carbon dioxide, they jumpstart the cycle of life. Feeding on the phytoplankton under the ice are zooplankton, which in turn feeds small fish, feeding the bigger fish all the way up the food chain, including us.
This is exciting. Yeah, there's a lot. And this is very different than what we've seen so far, actually, in terms of just the diversity of things that are in there.
Initial data from hundreds of samples confirm the team's expectations. Plankton, that critical source of ocean food, concentrates where the freshly melted ice is.
This is crazy how strong this is. 14 milligrams per liter. Yeah. Really strong bloom.
Yeah. Located right at the ice edge. I mean, we did have sea ice around at that station, right?
This is like the hot devil water that sits at the bottom, is just waiting to come up.
Increasing ice melt is wearing down the cycle of life here and undermining nature's carbon storage system. And that's bad news for all of us.
Water in this region is among the most productive when it comes to the building blocks of ocean life. There it is. There it is. Polar bear tracks.
Increased melting of glacial and land ice from above and from below have recently led to doubling previous projections of sea level rise to 2 meters around the world by the end of this century. That, coupled with the loss of sea ice, is not only going to deprive us of magical moments like this, beluga whales which rely on the food under the ice to survive. It will also deprive us of the riches the ocean now holds, riches we all depend on. Arwa Damon, CNN, the Arctic.